Welcome to the Daybreak.
Thank you, and thank you to your listeners.
Definitely, thank you so much. Now let's start by understanding what AviaDev Africa is before we get into knowing what it means and then what the win means for us, Botswana. But let's get to understand what this event, this prestigious conference is all about.
Indeed, as you know, there are a lot of conferences everywhere, every day. But for us, AviaDev is one premier conference because it is the one event where we talk connectivity. And it is the platform where airlines from across the world and pretty much all the airports and destinations in Africa come together to court each other so that the airlines can start flying to your destination. This was the 9th AviaDev gathering. And the second one for us to attend as Botswana. We first attended the one in Namibia last year, which was the 9th one, and this was the second one for us to attend. And indeed, very positive coming out of it.
And this having been the second one, next year will be the third one, and we will be hosting. Let's talk about what that means for us, Botswana, now hosting this AviaDev Africa 2026. From your explanation, sounds like it's a very high-level event which benefits the economy, not only the sector itself. So let's talk about why it is a big deal for us, Botswana.
In general, increasing air connectivity, as studies have shown, that increasing air connectivity by about 10% increases GDP growth by up to 1%. So for us, increasing connectivity is a crucial thing as a country. Now, when we attended AviaDev last year in Namibia, the one thing that we learned, in addition to all the connections and the positive outcomes that came out of it, the one thing that we also learned is that for the countries that have hosted before, hosting has a big impact. They saw tremendous advancement impact and airlines flying into their countries right immediately after hosting the event. That is when we decided as Botswana to put in a bid to host for 2026.
I think also we can also get into that bidding for hosting, how it actually came about for us to be winners and be announced as winners at the 2025 conference. How was the process? And I think it will also unravel for us to get to know if us, Botswana, are actually ready to be hosting such an event.
Indeed, we were fascinated by what was going on in Windhoek last year. We talked to the organizers and they advised just hold back. In around October, November, we are going to invite everybody to put in a bid, which is the normal process. So towards the end of the year, they opened up the bid. We prepared a very compelling bid book. And then after they review the bids, they shortlist to just a few countries. And then they come over for inspections. So they were here a few months ago, at the beginning of the year, in February, I think, to inspect all our facilities, to look at how we are going to hold the conference. And the good thing about it is when they were here, there was a conference ongoing at GICC. I can't quite recall what conference it was, but it was a conference that was put together very well. And they were very impressed at how Botswana can host and do things. So indeed, it was a... And I have to say, that goes on to not only us at CAAB and our partners in Botswana Air Access, but all the different hotels and hospitality industry in Botswana, because they went around, interviewed, inspected facilities, and they came out very impressed and that we can indeed host a conference of this magnitude.
I think you also mentioning some of the key players there in your sector. Let's also talk about the top 3 high return opportunities that we're going to see arising from this conference, or what this conference is going to unlock, specifically for the private sector, the private sector players in this particular type of event.
I think maybe I should step back to say we as a country have recognized that air connectivity is not a civil aviation authority issue. Yes. It affects us all. That is why last year we formed the Botswana Air Access. While we are at the forefront leading it, but we are in equal partners with all our partners. That is BTO, BITC, HATAB, Business Botswana, Travel Agents Association of Botswana, recognizing that increasing connectivity for the country affects us all. But indeed, air connectivity is a driver for economic growth. It grows tourism, it grows trade, and gross direct employment. So once we increase connectivity in the country, we expect all those to be positive and increase.
I think also because you are mentioning the likes of HATA, BTO as well, we can also talk about how this is going to bring some economic diversification. We are at this point as Botswana, our economy needs as much diversification as we can put on the table. So what does this mean? How is it going to align with Botswana's tourism and economic diversification coming together?
I think several ways to look at it. The first one is we need more tourists coming in. But more importantly, we need more tourists coming into the country conveniently. Yes. And that also goes along with investment. We have, recently we have had quite a number of investors flying into the countries. The fortunate ones are the ones that have their own business jets, but the ones that have to travel commercially, connecting to Botswana, we have to be honest about it. It's quite a nightmare. For the most part, you have got to go to South Africa or you've got to go to Addis. Anywhere else, and the times have got to line up with those. So indeed, increasing connectivity is going to make it easier to do business in Botswana. And that is what we are really driving, which is in alignment with what the government is driving.
I think we can also then narrow it down to our local businesses or entrepreneurs here in Botswana to say how can they leverage on the AviaDev 2026? How can they prepare themselves to not only be hosting but also leveraging, winning something or gaining something for their own income and the economy of Botswana? For example, how should we prepare ourselves and how are we going to leverage from this conference?
That is a very important aspect of this. But as you know, the win was only announced on Friday the 13th. Yes. So we are going to sit back, reflect on it, and see how we can engage the rest of our fellow citizens to see how each one of us can get involved and those that can benefit out of this. But I think it's a little early since we'll sit and look at that with all our partners.
However, benefiting, we will surely benefit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. I think we can also get from yourself, having attended the Zanzibar AviaDev 2025, your key takeaways, what it is that we as Botswana can say, this is what was different and this is what we would like to practice in our country, given that there were different presentations that took place there and even from giants in the industry. What are our key takeaways?
For me, the biggest takeaway is something that all of us in the aviation, trade and tourism industry have been talking about and not doing. What needs to be done and what hopefully we will have done as a country before the conference takes place in 2026 is visa on arrival, at least for African countries. Botswana is a signatory to the Single Africa Air Transport Market, SATAM. And one of the aspects of that is making it easy to visit a specific African country. And for us, one big factor is visas. Indeed, even after we presented the bid for AviaDev, the only question that came back from the review of our bid book related to visas. That there were a lot of complaints or negative views about our visa regime as a country. For example, that how are you going to facilitate conference attendees, because it seems like it's difficult to fly to go to Botswana. And here we're talking about Africa, just Africans flying into our country. So when we look at what other countries have done in relation to the Single Africa Air Transport Market, I'll give you an example of Rwanda, for example. That's one country that we talk about a lot about what they do. But it's the little things. When they changed their visa regimen to visa on arrival for all African states, travel, as in the numbers, went up by about 17–18%. And that's what we need. As a country, we have about, in the pre-COVID and this past year, we pretty much got to about our pre-COVID numbers, which is about 850,000 people through our airports a year. If you just do visa on arrival and you get a bump that is similar to about what Rwanda got, all of a sudden you've got 1 million travelers flying into Botswana, or 1 million travelers through our airports. That is the one thing that we need. When we go to Zanzibar, that's what was happening. People got visas on arrival. We need to get to that as a country. For me, that is, I know from as I said, from tourism, from the investment, even from the immigration department, that has been the talk. But what we need to do is once and for all act on that talk. If we can't take care of our visa regime, especially for starting with the Africans, I think it will really hold us back in what we're trying to do regarding air connectivity for this country.
Well, Dr. Mosinyi, whilst you're speaking, I'm remembering this, what we say, whilst we are being conservative at in some instances, we are actually trying to be safe to some extent. So in this case, the visa on arrival, the one that you are putting on the table, what security measures would you be also proposing at the same time to keep us at ease, even as we would be looking forward to such changes?
I would say I don't have much expertise in visas, but what I can say is countries that have followed through and did that, I have not heard them reporting of anything different from if you were to apply for a visa online before arrival.
All right. Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spotlight right there as we end our conversation on your vision for Botswana's aviation sector by 2026. And we will be hosting next year, but there are existing challenges, and you have already also pointed out one and a solution, a recommendation in that regard. But what is your vision in broad looking like for Botswana's aviation sector?
I'll start briefly with what we have done. In the last couple of years, we have concentrated on certifying our international airports, which we have done. The only one remaining is Francistown, and we'll do sometimes this year. And then working on positive ratings from the International Civil Aviation Organization through the audit. And as we have said before, after the audit of June last year, Botswana's score is 85.78%, which is the fourth or fifth highest in Africa. We built from coming from a 61% to an 85%. So we have been doing things in steps. Now the infrastructure is ready. Now our view, or the view of the world's view of Botswana from a safety standpoint, it's very high. It's now moving to the next step of connectivity, which is what we'll be focusing on. Which is what we're focusing on, and the AviaDev conference actually help us even more to accomplish that. So the country is really moving towards creating jobs, towards bringing more investors into the country, and we at the CAAB, working with our partners, see ourselves as an enabler for that, in as far as being able to improve connectivity so that we can get more people flowing into and out of Botswana. So we see ourselves we've accomplished the first two, and which is the certifying the airport to increasing our international safety ratings. And I find no reason why, if I was to sit here next year, we'll be talking about the fact that connectivity has gone really high in this country. Whenever you talk to anybody around here, around the country, they always ask, when is this airline coming in? When is Qatar coming? When are you getting an Emirates? But we are slowly making progress to some of those.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mosinyi, for your time this morning. And we're looking forward to realizing those achievements alongside with yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. That was Dr. Mosinyi, of course, from the Civil Aviation Authority of Botswana. And we're looking forward to seeing the AviaDev Africa 2026 taking place in the very next year here in Botswana. We're looking forward to that. Wana ipa kanya Botswana wetu ikanyarun.
Thrilled to interact with young people who I always